What's up everyone, NanMan here, and we're going to be doing another modern meta breakdown video. This time we're going to be focusing on one deck that made top 8 at MTG Vegas. Now if you guys missed out on the event, there was of course a 1,000, I think 400 or so players that participated in the modern main event at MTG Vegas. The cast was doing an awesome job of at least posting up pictures, deck list, all sorts of good stuff. So we know at least what the top 8 looks like. Even if there wasn't, of course, video coverage for the event, we did get to see some community members posting up information. So we're going to be talking about Infect. And if you guys know anything about me, you know, I am a big fan of Infect. I posted up on Twitter recently that I'm missing just one card from my signed Infect deck. I mean, it's the deck that I've been able to make day 2 at GPs with. So when I saw that this made the top 8, I was like, we're definitely going to be discussing this. So without further ado, let's jump into the deck discussion. All right, so this time we're going to be seeing a shift in how Infect works. All right, so Infect up to this year, I guess you could say, has been very focused on the super quick blue-green version, right? The Simic style where you're just like, all right, I'm running like 12 to 15 creatures, right? And that's, of course, our Noble Hierarchs, our Glistener Elves, our Blighted Agent. We're counting Dryad Arbor in there, Spellskite, that depending on how the meta shifts, right, as your creature base. And that's it. It's very low in creature count and very high in spells. Now we're seeing a bit of a shift where it's basically inverting that number, where we're seeing an increase in the number of creatures and a decrease in the number of spells that are going to be played. This kind of allows a little bit more staying power in our current meta. We know how much removal exists, and the most common removal that we're seeing is actually a creature popping up and being able to exile a creature. That is a white spell, so being able to have protection against white is the main reason that we're seeing this shift from just that straight blue-green into a more Sultai-less. Now, some people have tried out the Golgari version of it, right? You're running Plague Stinger in there as well, and you're not running the blue, but Blighted Agent is such an all-star Infect creature. Having unblockable is just like hands down the best thing that you can get on an Infect creature. So we're going to go through this list. This is, of course, our 4th place finish at the event, and so we're going to go through and talk about the creatures. Why has this deck shifted? Why is it now 3 colors instead of just the 2? And, you know, and why is it going to be the kind of future of Infect going forward? And we kind of hinted at it already, talked about it briefly, about how that powerful card that we're seeing of being able to exile a card with just a creature is the main reason that we're going to be seeing this shift. Also, if we're thinking about how our creature base is shifting, right? We're seeing a lot more of there's this, of course, monkey running around. We've got our delirium creatures running around. So there's these red creatures that are in a lot of different decks. We're seeing an increase in like kind of Jund and these elemental decks. We see some crazy powerful cards and combos that people are being able to play. So let's go into our creatures. Now here's the main powerhouse that we're seeing the shift and why you should be running 3 colors in Infect, and that's our Phyrexian Crusader. Now it's 2/2, which is much stronger than the normal Infect creatures that was traditionally run, right? Most of those are 1. Now it does cost a little bit more. As you can see, we've got that kind of cycling right next to me of different spells, different creatures that are in the list. Now, Phyrexian Crusader is a 2/2 Infect, of course. It's got First Strike, which does actually matter in certain matchups. Not as much as you might think, but still, that little bit needs to be noted. But the most important part is that pro-red and pro-white means if you have red creatures, now my Phyrexian Crusader has unblockable against you. Oh, you're having a bunch of burn spells. You're not going to be able to target my Phyrexian Crusader, and I'm able to kind of push for damage. So it helps us a little bit in that burn matchup, which is traditionally extremely difficult for us to pilot. The pro-white, though, is the biggest thing because so much removal has shifted from traditionally where it was that, oh, here's fatal pushes, right? And here are these black removal spells that a lot of people are running, and we're doing lightning bolts and stuff like that. Well, now it's like, okay, red, white, most common colors that you're seeing as removal. So we're seeing this shift. We need to adapt to it. Phyrexian Crusader has been added into it. Now, in order to help keep up with this demand of having a 3-cost creature, right? If this is our big payout here, is we want to hope that we're hitting a Crusader early enough, then sweet. We need to be able to get some ramp going. And so now our noble package or our hierarch package has doubled in size, where previously we were just running our noble hierarch, right? The exalted matters, the being able to tap for mana matters. It helps us be able to get blighted agent out, so it works out really well. It helps us be able to cast and activate our Inkmoth Nexus and fly in and deal damage that way. So really versatile creature in the list. Doesn't have Infect itself, but it is just as important as the Infect creatures. I have won games just by pumping a noble hierarch and attacking somebody. All right, you don't want to underestimate the power of the creatures that are in here. Now, pumping this is going to be less likely compared to in the more traditional version where you have a lot more pump spells. Now, we've decreased the number of pump spells that are in this list, so the creatures that we have matter a lot more. So increasing with our hierarch package, we've got the ignoble hierarch here, right? Our goblin shaman. So basically same text that you'd expect to see on our noble hierarch here, except now it taps for those Jund colors, that black, red, and green. Now the way that works is going to help us be able to cast our Phyrexian Crusader and having more exalted triggers go off, right? It's one thing to be able to have a Phyrexian Crusader that's coming at you as a 2/2, but hey, I have an ignoble and a noble hierarch out, so now he's a 4/4. Double exalted trigger coming in, and that's a little bit scarier to deal with, a 4/4 creature instead of just that 1/1, the 2/2s that you might normally see. And that doesn't include any of those pump spells, right? And we'll get into the pump spells and the reason that we're running the big splashy ones compared to some of the other ones, like ground swells and things like that, no longer needed. We are looking for ways to shave on power level and shave on some of our stuff to fit in all these creatures. Well, groundswell was the first one to go. So let's kind of go through at least. We understand why the hierarchs are in here. We've doubled up on that. So we have 20 total creatures in here. And you've also got your traditional ones, right? We've got our Glistener Elf. You're hoping to hit a turn 1 Glistener Elf, Noble Hierarch, or Ignoble Hierarch. You want one of those. And being able to have essentially 12 of those as your options to be able to hit a 1-drop is looking pretty good for the way this list is set up. Blighted Agent is in here, and I say that doing the Sultai version is necessary specifically for Blighted Agent. Cool, Plague Singer is great. I have flying. I'm a 1/1. But a 1/1 with unblockable is better than a 1/1 with flying. Hands down. Easy, right? So that's why we're switching to the Sultai, and that's the way to go instead of just going straight Golgari. Right? In our current meta, go for this version of it. As things shift, maybe we'll get rid of Crusader again and adjust our numbers and go back to the higher instance counts and go for the faster kill route, right? The older versions of it allowed us to get like a turn 2 kill. It's possible in this list, and we'll talk about how you can do that, but it's not as likely based on now that we have more creatures. So we're adjusting in how the meta works. So Blight Agent is a must-have. Now our land base is pretty consistent because we need black or Borgs in here. Hey, we need green, so because all of our pump spells are green. So of course our circle or Cradle of Growth is in here. Yavimaya, one Pendelhaven, Overgrown Tomb is in here. We need that double black for Crusader, so you're seeing that shift. Only one breeding pool, but we're relying on Noble Hierarch to help us cast Blighted Agent. So having one breeding pool makes a lot of sense. The mix of fetches, as long as you have green on your fetches, you're going to want to run them. You can do any variation. The Verdant Catacombs and the Misty are, I would say, slightly ahead on that list just because we care about finding a blue source, we care about finding a black source. But if you only have 4 Windsweeps and 4 Wooded, you're fine, right? It doesn't really matter. This person is running a 2-2-2-2 split here. Whatever works best for you, right? The 2 basic forests is also in here. It's also very important. There are people that like to run Blood Moon, right? So think about that. I have been hosed by Blood Moon more times than I can count with Infect, so I've had some shifts where I've ran 3 forests instead of 2, and that's specifically based on my meta from where I'm currently playing. But that, different stuff. Inkmoth Nexus is in here, which increases our number of Infect creatures, right? Previously, on the old list, you basically had 8 infect creatures, and then this bumped you up to 12. All right, and now so we've added Phyrexian Crusader, so we're up to 16 infect creatures that can be able to kill somebody. So really nice way of shifting it and having a little bit more staying power, dealing with a lot of the stuff that's going on. So let's shift over and talk a little bit about the instances, because I mentioned earlier about turn 2 wins. So assuming things work out, right? Very linear. Okay, I'm going to drop down an elf here on turn 1. Turn 2, play my land. I'm going to be able to scale up. Boom. It's now a 6/4 power and toughness. It still has infect. So think about that. And then you're going to be using mutagenic growth, or you're going to be hitting it with a Might of Old Corrosive. This is very all in. You're basically dumping your stuff on this. It's less likely to happen because we have a lot less instants and sorceries here, because you're going to have to either rely on 2 mutagenic growths or 1 Might of Old Corrosive and 1 scale up. It's doable. It's possible. You can still make it happen. But you can see we've added back in the Become Immense. We're expecting things to die. We have so many creatures. We know those are going to die. We have a bunch of fetch lands. We know those are going to be in the graveyard. So really our goal is to get that +6, right? Phyrexian Crusader is already a 2/2. So I have 1 Phyrexian Crusader plus a Become Immense. There's 8 damage right there. And that's assuming I don't have any of my hierarchs out, which is very unlikely. So it's very easy to be able to shift and just kill somebody with the Phyrexian Crusader like this. And that's why we've got these scale ups here, right? Swinging in, okay, now I'm swinging for 6. Or Blighted Agent. I love doing the Blighted Agent and just like, all right, here we go. Let's make it happen. Only thing is, right, you have to think about it does have that whole 6/4. It's sorcery speed, so you can't do the gotcha moves that a lot of people like to do. Don't stress about that. It's really just I'm being very straightforward, very linear in how I'm playing this. Here's my creature, here's my pump spell, turn it sideways. It was more of a creature-based combo deck that exists. This is still like it, but it's just kind of been diluted a little bit more and not as consistent with the 1 turn kill, turn 2, turn 3 wins. But because Modern has shifted, it is no longer possible to do those, right? There's so many ways to get rid of creatures and interact on other people's turns that you have to be able to last longer in Modern. So that's why this shift makes a lot of sense here. So Become Immense, scale up, very, very similar. Big, boom, +6, right? Mutagenic growth. I love that there's a playset in here because it does cost that Phyrexian. I can just pay life and give my creature +2/+2. I've used it to save creatures in combat. I've used it to be able to try to kill people. Right? It's amazing. Vines of the Vastwood and Blossoming Defense are 2 protection spells. So it's diluted the amount of protection because depending on how things shift and move, right now we're in this period where, okay, we need less protection because we're okay with creatures dying. Because we're running more Become Immense. We have bigger creatures. We have more creatures. It's okay. We're not so worried about protecting this one creature and just killing you. Where before, right, we'd have 4 Blossoming Defenses, 4 Vines of the Vastwood, right? Where Vines is really good, and you're never really going to shave on Vines, specifically because of the kicker, right? I can protect my creature with it, as well as be able to pump it. 2 green, it's got hexproof and +4/+4, right? Which is great because I can do that at instant speed, which is a little bit different than Might, which is just a straight up +2 at instant speed, or if I play it during my main phase, I get +4. So that little shift does matter. Sideboards we'll briefly talk about here because things are going to shift and adjust based on what your meta is, where you're playing at your shop, whether you're playing online, all the different stuff. But I'm going to highlight the need for certain cards. You see, basically it's this breakdown, this shift, where I'm going to worry about artifacts and enchantments, and I'm going to worry about graveyards. Those are my main things. I've got some shifting, some adjustments that I can do. Some people are trying out different things, like there's some planeswalkers in this sideboard, and so we'll talk a little bit about. So we've got, of course, Surgical Extraction. Again, Phyrexian, I don't want to waste my mana being able to cast a graveyard hate spell. I want to just pay life, not worry about it. This works out amazingly well against removal spells that target us because we get to just get rid of the rest of them. Oh, you run a playset of your Lightning Bolts, or your playset of Path to Exile, or your playset of you know, back when people ran Fatal Push a lot more. Not so much anymore, whatever. But you get to just get rid of them all, right? Because you search through their hand, their library, their graveyard, and exile all copies of it. So that's really nice. The endurance in here, the evoke creatures are so powerful. Modern Horizons 2, just like Modern Horizons 1, here's new cards for the meta. Amazing stuff. Modern Horizons 2, the evoke creatures are the big takeaway. Everyone, oh, the monkey, and no, Ragavan's cool and all, but these have been the most meta-defining things, right? When how well they work on being able to just do stuff for almost free. All right, so I could say, oh, okay, I'm going to get rid of your graveyard again. All right, your graveyard doesn't matter anymore because now it's been shuffled up. So playset is in here again. So these are our two graveyard base. Ashiok is also in here. It's kind of double duty, right? Both it can deal with graveyards, exile that, but it also prevents your opponents from being able to search, right? So if you're running a combo, right, we've talked about these people that like to, oh, I'm going to go find these certain things, right? Maybe there's a Titan that likes to come out and mess with lands and do a lot of searching. Now you cannot because Ashiok's static ability. Nissa's in here. Sweet. Make plans. Here's some blockers. +1 counters is really what we care about, making our guys bigger, right? That's awesome. Seems great. So this is really cool. I'm liking that people are testing this out. Really, it's that whole double duty thing, right? I get to sit here and reach, trample. Awesome. He's 4/4. Whenever he mutates, I get to destroy another enchantment or artifact that opponent controls. Seems really good. Mutate's such a weird thing with just like stacking creatures on top of each other. So I think it's, again, I used to run our Infect creature that would be able to destroy artifacts and enchantments, but it was a 3-drop, 2/2. But now the fact that you can mutate for that and get a bigger creature if you need to is pretty nice. So really, really cool. And then, of course, Force of Vigor. Again, casting things for free, right? So exiling those, or sorry, destroying up to 2 target artifacts or enchantments. So really these are the problem things that we have to deal with in Modern right now. I now have more creatures that are going to keep me alive to be able to fight against you, and now I can deal with all those problem stuff with my sideboard. And you can be able to adjust numbers, right? Because now we have more creatures, you can adjust some of your creatures when you're sideboarding. You can also adjust some of your instances if you want, if you know, okay, I'm not going to be able to get that big burst damage. Maybe I can shave down a few mutagenic growths on here. All right, I might be able to shave down on a Might of Old Corrosa, but you can also be like, all right, I'm going to remove one of my ignoble hierarchs, one of my noble you never want to remove your Infect creatures when you're sideboarding. So think about it when that, okay, how can I shave some of my numbers to keep my stuff as consistent as possible without disrupting my plan? Cool, get rid of these 4-ofs that I've got and just pull 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 kind of thing. Don't get rid of your Infect creatures because that's how you win. But I hope you guys like this. This video was a little bit longer because, you know, it's Infect. Why would we not make it longer? So if you guys liked it, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. We're going to be doing a couple other of these videos that highlight some of the other decks that are running around in the Modern meta as well as running around from GP Vegas. We've also got another Commander game that's coming up. Lots and lots of other cool content that we're doing. Maybe some more draft/cube stuff. So let me know what you guys think of the video, and I'll catch you guys next game. Thanks for tuning in and watching, guys. NanMan here. I just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out about all the other great content that is on all the channels that I've been producing. So if you guys are watching Magic related stuff, you know that on Modern Magic Mondays YouTube channel, we do have, of course, Modern content. We've got Commander content and Cube content. There's also a podcast that kind of highlights different stuff that I'm doing in that scene, as well as kind of just other gaming related stuff. And that is, of course, NanMan's Nerd Corner. You can see that wherever podcasts are found. Of course, on my original gaming channel for YouTube, youtube.com/NanMan. You can be able to see video game stuff. There's Sea of Thieves content, Minecraft, lots of StarCraft stuff. There's a history, a look back at StarCraft 2 that kind of goes through the history of the start of esports, pretty much the explosion from 2010. So you guys can check out that sort of content. If you're liking this sort of stuff, you guys can also show additional support over on the Patreon. Of course, that is patreon.com/TheRealNanMan. Twitter is the same sort of deal, @TheRealNanMan. You guys can, of course, find all the links to all the content and all the stuff that I'm doing down below. But the best way to show those supports, guys, is to hit those subscribes, the follows, all that kind of good stuff. Spread the word. Let people know about all the cool stuff that I've got going on here. But thanks for tuning in and watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next game.